Carbon footprint. It's a very common term, and we could define it as the amount of greenhouse gas emissions you're responsible for, whether individually, as a household, or as an organisation, or as a country. When we talk about greenhouse gas emissions, it's more than just carbon. In fact, carbon is a shorthand for carbon dioxide. We also have to include methane, nitrous oxide, sulfur hexafluoride and nitrogen trifluoride, and there are a number of other gases that can be included, but these are the main ones. When we start measuring a carbon footprint, you'll often hear 3 emission scopes: scopes 1, 2 and 3. Scope 1 emissions are emissions that result from fuels that you directly burn. For example, if you put natural gas through a furnace, or if you put gasoline into a car. Scope 2 emissions are where you're using an energy source where somebody else has burnt the fuel. So for example, this could be electricity. It could also be a heating or cooling that's provided by a landlord. Scope 3 emissions are the really complicated ones, very difficult to measure because these are emissions outside of your organisation. So if you're a manufacturing plant, Scope 3 emissions would be the emissions of your supply chain. Very difficult to measure, complex to understand, but you need to address them. That said, typically today a value basis is used when looking at Scope 3 emissions. To conclude, what are the problems with doing something about your carbon footprint? Well, we need people to be engaged with carbon footprinting and carbon reduction, and to do that you need to have an understanding, and here we've just provided at the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more to understand. But what you will see from what we've talked about is you have to have good underlying data. That data will typically be energy use, and then you will need to know emissions factors. So that concludes this short video on carbon footprinting.